One. Welcome to season 2 of the Klown Hour Video Podcast. I'm Scott Burks, your host. My co-host beneath me is Dwayne Nash. Please check him to smile himself out at the Yard HBCU Sports, reps up all things HBCU Sports, as well as Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live. Please check him and his crew out. It's hilarious. It's informative. You had some fun. You'll be glad you did. Also, check out his great work on herosports.com, where he writes about all things FCS athletics as it pertains to HBCUs. As for your boy here, please check me out on the sports blog component, the Klown Times. That's right here. Spelled Klown spelled with K at www.theklowntimes.net. You can also check me out on Facebook. So when you're on your smartphone, laptop, desktop, wherever you are, wherever you may be, just type in the Klown Times. You'll find me acting the fool there as well. And speaking of the hat, please get the merch.
Get the merch.
CafePress.com. Search for the Klown Time Sports. The link will be in the description after I upload the video to YouTube, so you will find the gear there as well. So I mentioned we're in season 2. This has been a great ride. We're getting a lot of followers. Oh yeah, one more thing, please hit the subscribe button on the lower right-hand corner of the screen. You'll be glad you did, and we'll be glad you did. And more, we're picking up more subscribers. We have over 100 subscribers now. I'm the one who celebrates a small victory since I rebooted this channel in late December. So I celebrated, and I thank y'all. And so we're going to keep it going. Who knows what this journey will take us on. So anyway, so kicking off season 2 with our guest. She's a fellow Aggie Pride, and she's and she has a lot of great things to share with us. We're going to introduce her now. Traci Hatch is in the building. Traci, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I just feel so honored. I'd first like to thank the Academy for being invited to the Klown Times. I was like, oh, I'm so nervous. What do I wear? And look, we're all dressed alike.
There you go.
Well, you know, I had to rep for you today, Traci. You know, I got my A&T t-shirt on. You know, I got the W on for the Wilson. I'm repping all sides for you today.
And I had to show up for you. You see, I got the three
stars and the 2 bars. You know it.
So but wait, let me do my little plug for I'm a recurring person of interest on a podcast called Another Sports View. So It's brought to you by Women Love Sports Too. And I was so grateful to be invited to do that. So you can follow us on Facebook, Another Sports View. You can also follow us on Instagram at Another Sports View. So we are also bringing our lady opinions to this wild world of sports. So
awesome.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Diversity is needed.
There you go. And speaking of which, but one more thing. Traci, how long have you been on that podcast as a recurring or what have you?
I don't know, a couple months.
Okay, well, cool.
Yeah, I think. What month? Look, what month is this?
This is
July. Yes.
Let's say April. Let's say April.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was about to say the same thing.
Yep. Cool. All right. So speaking of diversity, we might as well get to it. Now, this happened during our break, our season break, the last couple of weeks, and it's not really going away. And what really led me to this is that we talked about this on our Facebook group of fellow Aggies and whatnot. And we had some diversifying opinions. And what I'm talking about is one, Rachel Nichols. So what she said regarding Maria Taylor, saying that she alluded to, like, kind of implying that she was a diversity hire. So basically this was said, the quote from Rachel Nichols was made in July of 2020, right? So this has been over almost a year. This is during the bubble. So they knew about them, but it's coming to the surface now. And I'll get to those reasons I think like in a moment, but let's just get to the money quote right quick. I'm looking at the NewYorkTimes.com. It has an interesting write-up on this, which really covers a lot of angles and a lot of layers, which I did not know. And we'll get to those in a moment. But anyway, here's the money quote that set the place on fire. Quote, "I wish Maria Taylor all the success in the world. She covers football, she covers basketball. If you need to give her more things to do because you're feeling pressure about your crappy long-time work on diversity, which, by the way, I know personally from the female side of it, like, go for it. Just find it somewhere else. You're not going to find it from me or taking my thing away. End of quote. So apparently, I believe she said this to LeBron James, one of his advisors. He's a Jewish guy, and his agent, Rich Paul. And so, as you can imagine, like Maria Taylor, I guess like one of her friends recorded had a live video on, if you will, a live mic, and just shared it with her. And so the ESPN has been dealing behind the scenes for about a year. It came to the surface recently, and which is interesting because Maria Taylor's contract is about to expire. And I don't know if it's a negotiation thing. I don't know if she being Maria Taylor has Pitaro, who's ESPN's chair, over the barrel or whatever, because he mentioned her as one of the rising stars, but you can imagine that since they didn't have disciplined Rachel Nichols because she's still in the jump, and you got to imagine that Maria feels some kind of way. I'm gonna say this one more thing before I shift it over to Traci rather, because we had our opinions when we discussed this. Basically, she being Maria Taylor, we all know that she's very talented. She's played basketball and volleyball for the Georgia Bulldogs, right? And it's not like, obviously, it's not a diversity hire thing, obviously, but I have I liked, before this came out, I liked Rachel Nichols a lot, which hurts. I respected her rise. She put in the time. It also helps that her mother-in-law is Diane Sawyer. That Diane Sawyer.
Right.
So it's not like she's without any privilege either. But the point is, she put in the time. She started from the ground up and worked her ass off. And she's experienced, as she mentioned earlier, her fair share of pushback because she's a woman in this medium. She faced it from the likes of Floyd Mayweather when the whole thing came out, when she was trying to press for questions during the Pacquiao lead up to the Pacquiao fight, and she had to be banned by his team, and she had to deal with a lot of other stuff. So I have a lot of respect for Rachel Nichols. I did not like personally that she had to imply, while making a point about ESPN's crappy, as her put it, diversity record, which it's true. If you talk to anybody there or listen to Dan Le Batard's podcast, for the people who worked at ESPN in the past, you see the diversity on TV. You just don't see it in the boardroom. You don't see it walking around the hallways of ESPN. You think you're in another world. So with all that being said, Traci, I know you had your opinions. I'm going to give you the opportunity to share your opinion now. What was your take, your angle on what Rachel Nichols said towards Maria Taylor and whatnot?
It's funny because, you'll hear about something, but then you actually have to go and hear it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when I first heard about it, I was just like, oh boy. But then, again, heard about it. But then when I heard it for myself, I thought, well, honestly, I don't think what she said was wrong, or I would say was directed towards Maria. I didn't feel like she was saying, oh yeah, she's a good hire, good diversity hire. Do you all hear those drums in the background? Great. Okay, so I did not think that it was a matter of race, and I will say it's kind of a double-edged sword, because there's this thing of black and white, but then there's this thing of gender as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so now Rachel could step back and say, well, as a woman, but I was gonna go ahead and tell you right now, white women don't have the same issues black women have, okay? And that's just how it is. No matter who a mama-in-law is, a daddy, husband, whatever, the issues are not the same. Yes, gender, inequalities exist, but it's not always on the same scale. So while I thought that Rachel's comment was definitely, a dig at ESPN, and that I agree that I don't think that it should be at the expense of her position, or, her place on a show, to elevate Maria. Obviously, Maria, is great on the camera, and she deserves, some respect, a good role at ESPN on her own, but not at the sake of Nichols. So I was in agreement with that part.
Okay. But something called, when you mentioned black women, white women don't have the same issues as black women, that's a certain thing that our sisters like experience called intersectionality, where y'all as black women come out at the far worse end of that because you're dealing only with gender, but race. So you're getting the double-edged sword coming out both directions. It's just not fun. My wife could attest to that. But D, get in on this if you will, because I know you have some opinions on this as well, because it's a lot of he'll help peel back a lot of layers too, aside from the obvious. The tip of the iceberg being Rachel Nichols mentioning Maria Taylor and implying that she was a diversity hire, but there's so much more to that than that.
Yeah, I mean, as always, just like high school, I'm copying off of Traci's paper all over again because we are in complete agreement. When I felt the exact same way when I heard it, I'm like, oh wow, what did Rachel say? And then when I heard it, I said, it's not as bad in my eyes as a lot of people think that it is. Now, first and foremost, let me say this, because there are a lot of people who are talking about this subject matter and are saying that if you're in support of Rachel, you're anti-Maria Taylor. And that's not always
bullshit.
the case.
That's bullshit, yeah.
Yes, right? Because I am in complete support of both of them.
Right.
Now.
We get to cuss on here too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but of course.
Oh, yeah. You can say whatever the hell you want.
Oh, yeah.
I'll work on it. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
So, and I just know that a lot of times, I mean, I'm going to keep leaning on Traci because Traci has known me since, 1991? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so she's seen me be an agitator. And a lot of times when I say things, even out of truth, people think that I'm being an agitator whenever I say things. 80% of the time I am, but it's coming from a place of truth. And it's also, I'm trying to show you a different side of a particular situation. Now, whether or not you agree with me or not is another thing. But what I want you to do is whenever I do, and I guess my abrasive approach doesn't necessarily work to make people want to listen to me, but still, I mean, it's like, hey, man, there's something in there. And the reason why I say that is, look at it like this. Let's break down a couple of things with Rachel's comments, right? Now, what I'm not going to say is whether or not Rachel is or is not racist. That's not my place, right? And I'm not going to defend her because I really don't know her. The last time I defended somebody that I didn't know, it got me in a lot of trouble. Never again. So with that said, I'm not going to call her either whatever, right? But let's break down the statement. Now, does ESPN have an issue with diversity? Matter of fact, does sports journalism have an issue as it pertains to diversity? The answer to that is a resounding yes. I've been hearing about that for like the past, 6-7 years, maybe 8 years now, about how there is a issue, even from employees of ESPN, about how there's an issue with diversity as it pertains to sports journalism.
Yeah, so remember I was mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Just because you see it on TV, doesn't necessarily mean you see it in the office, in the boardroom, or whatever. If you walk around campus, you're not going to know how diverse they are because they're not.
They're not.
From people they say, they're not.
But even when the stuff that you see on TV, you might see 1 or 2 women or 1 black woman.
Sure.
Or if you're lucky, 2 black dudes because it's sports. Matter of fact, you'll see more black dudes because, of course, a lot of times they end up hiring ex-athletes. So that's the one situation where you'll see a lot more African Americans in that situation because they're bringing in former athletes, right? So, but still, there's a lot of room to bring in more diversity hires within sports journalism as a whole. The ESPN is not excluded from that at all. Now, another thing that was brought up was feeling the pressure from Black Lives Matter. There are a lot of corporations that felt that pressure. Now, there are a lot of people who deal with, especially as it pertains to sports, that deal with matters like Black Lives Matter, the LGBTQ movement. There are a lot of entities within sports that deal with it with finesse and deal with it with respect, mainly the WNBA, occasionally the NBA. Mm-hmm. And then there are other entities that kind of like stumble in it, like me trying to holler at a chick when in high school. And then I'm just like, yo, sometimes don't even fake the funk. It did not feel, I'm going to go ahead and call it out because this happened while we were on break too. It did not feel organic to see the NFL shield in rainbow colors. I'm sorry. It just didn't. Because if that was the case, it wouldn't be a situation where there was only one player to come out as being gay playing in the league.
Yep.
If the NFL was so open in arms in terms of being accommodating to the LGBTQ community, right? So, like I said before, sports entities are still dealing with this, and it doesn't once again include the ESPN. And to say that potentially bringing in a black face in a situation where it is not necessarily a lot of black faces on that network, there might be a piece of truth to that. I'm not going to say that Maria Taylor is not talented, and I'm not going to say that she not deserved the job, but I'm also not going to say that she was a BLM hire, but I'm not also not going to say that ESPN is above not doing something like that. So there's just a lot of things that is in that conversation that, you know, regardless if you don't like it, it's like when you're growing up as a child, your parents try to force you to eat vegetables, even though I'm not a big vegetable eater myself. If you look at my gut, you can kind of tell that. But still, it's just like eating vegetables. It may not be good for you. It may not taste good.
But it's good for you.
But it's something in there that's going to be good for you. And I think that this is exactly what this is. And I just looked at this entire situation as Rachel Nichols' don't tread on me moment. You know, she just went ahead and was like, yo, I'm not giving up my job to allow someone else to come in. It just happens to be unfortunate. It's a person of color. Now, if it was your job, you wouldn't want someone else coming in taking your job. And I understand Rachel in that situation. But I'm not going to say that Rachel's not racist, but I understand her stance. I do.
Well, you know what? It's interesting you said that because you had me thinking a lot of stuff, man. First of all, as far as Rachel Nichols herself, a lot of black media personnel, ex-players mainly, have come out to cape for her. One being Steven Jackson. He's caped for her hard, still caping for her, and that's fine. As well as her co-hosts like Kendra Perkins and what's his name, Richard Jefferson on the too job, and how it's talking about ESPN doing things awkwardly. Mm-hmm. Having her do essentially a 30-second non-apology, and having to have Kendra Perkins and Richard Jefferson talk far more about something that they did not start. It had not a damn thing to do with. It's like, why, if you're going to have her do that, give her a long segment, take those other two brothers' asses off the stage, and let her address it directly.
Yeah.
Essentially what I don't know if she meant to doing that, but basically what happened was she did her 30-second non-apology and poured it off on the two brothers in the room. They have them kind of cape up for her. That's what happened. And it's unfortunate. But I was going to say, like you mentioned something there as regards to hiring and whatnot. On Dan Le Batard's YouTube channel, his podcast, y'all should check it out. It's very great. It's great. He had on Amin, I can't pronounce his last name to save my life. He used to be on ESPN. He was in the NBA front office for a while.
I know exactly who you're referring to. Yeah,
brother. Yeah, him and Jamel Hill on the segment talking about just that, about not only about this whole Rachel Nichols thing, but about how media companies, they make promises to you in a contract. You treat them like gold, and sometimes even though they're promised to you, they'll take it away from you anytime they want to. And people get very territorial over that shit. It's the point where Jamel once said that, and I'm paraphrasing that, she's seen some instances where at ESPN, where a lot of that shit happened behind the scenes, and it got to the point where even though the two media personalities, on their personalities, had nothing to do with the creation of it, they end up not talking to each other sometimes. because one feels threatened by the other. It happens apparently a lot more in the media business than we think. So that's that layer of it. And so I guess that was a levity that helped me bring a little bit of understanding to what Rachel was coming from. I just kind of wish it didn't imply that Maria Taylor was minority hired. That's my thing. She could have said anything else. If she would have stopped that, if they want to bring, she had to mention her name. I don't know. I just wish that she hadn't said anything. But I don't think that Rachel Nichols is racist. I've seen her on all the Smoke podcasts with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. I see it on television. I know I'm very familiar with her backstory. And I'm not a cancel culture cat anyway. Because let's just face it. Let's just be real. We all said some stupid shit and hurtful shit that if people know about it, we don't even be canceled. We'd probably be out of jobs.
2 minutes before I got on here. Yeah.
So I'm just saying. So anyway, I mean, that's just how I look at it. But I'm gonna say one more thing. I'm gonna turn it back over to Traci. There's another quote in this article, this New York Times article, and I'll send y'all the link to it. It's where Nichols and Middleton. That's LeBron's advisor. They was discussing the culture of ESPN's headquarters, basically saying, this is the quote, those same people, this is Rachel talking, those same people who are like generally white conservative male Trump voters is part of the reason I've had a hard time at ESPN. I basically finally just outworked everyone for so long that I had to recognize it. I don't want to then be a victim of them trying to play catch up for the same damage that affected me in the first place. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to be nice. If she stopped at the first half of that quote about generally the white conservative male Trump voters part, that first part, I've been cool with it because I mean we both know that it's a white male dominated profession. It just is, and women, even white women, have had a hard time climbing up the ranks. It's hard on brothers and especially hard on sisters because remember the whole intersectionality thing. But I just wish all she had to do was to stop there. That's all she had to do. I get she's trying to protect the property. I get she's trying to protect what's hers, what's been promised to her, what's been making them, let's just be real, probably millions of dollars on the air. She doesn't have to go there. That's all I'm saying. So Traci, I think you have more to bring because again, you've had a lot to say online. So I think you were going to add some other things before you.
Well, two things. I was going to say, well, she would have stopped there if she didn't know she was being recorded. There's a lot of things like,
yeah,
I'll make sure I have all my conversations as if I'm being recorded. No, nobody ever does that. So that's
no
why
privacy.
You get that point. She's just.
I mean, I do, but
I can't tell.
And
it's funny when you said, sometimes I'm an agitator. Before you came on, I was like, yeah, it's like I feel like I always had to tell, Dwayne, go to the corner. But you were right in what you were saying. You do bring up another point of view. It's just your delivery, which is I know is on purpose. But but it's important to do that because I see. Sorry for a slight tangent.
No, that's all right.
A lot of times, I would say I would say probably all three of us. We say things that other people are thinking, but they don't want to say it because of this, this funky, cancel culture, or they either don't want to be in the minority or they don't want to be, jumped and piled upon by, all these other people that are so firm in their opinion. So, I'll let you slide sometimes. But, that's the thing. She's saying exactly how she felt. The biggest part in it is, oops, it was being recorded.
Well.
And so my second thing is,
yeah,
ESPN owns Disney, right?
That's correct. Well, Disney owns ESPN. Disney owns
ESPN.
Yeah, it's all the way around, yeah.
Disney owns ESPN. Okay.
Yeah.
You see how long it took them to get a black princess? That's it. That's all I had. I had to blame. They cut the head off. Cut it off at the head. So I had to blame I had to blame Disney for taking forever to get Tiana.
Was that what? Yeah, Tiana. I'm about to say Princess and the Frog, not the the Bailey version of the Little Mermaid, which is something else totally entirely. But yeah, that was in Princess and the Frog. That was in 2015 or 2014. I forgot.
Yeah.
But it took the 21st century to get a black princess. Yeah, that part. Right. It's something to be said about privacy. You mentioned it, Traci. Privacy. Obviously, this is not as bad to the magnitude of what Donald Sterling once said.
Donald Sterling, yes, sir.
What he said in his own kitchen when it's the most comfortable. But I don't know. It's so many layers. It's so many things because I don't like, me personally, I didn't like that Rachel implied about even though she was trying to protect her own property and she was speaking more to that standpoint, but what the red herring was Maria Taylor. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She brought up her by name.
Yeah.
And that's what shifted the whole focus to what's there now is that, look, I'm glad things come to the surface, right? It's just okay. This is where the people who came for her would come in and say, well, what about the whole privacy thing? She didn't know she was recorded. It was nefarious that her homegirl was recording it. And she told she told Maria. And actually, matter of fact, that same sister who told Maria got reprimanded and got severely punished to the point where she had to leave. Yes. Mm-hmm. So she got kind of neutered, if you will. It's just Dwayne, I know you're about to say something, but I'm just
because like I understand your pain, right? Because it's that thin line, right? Mm-hmm. And I've heard other people say it, and I'm like, it goes back to my whole comment earlier of I don't necessarily want to call Rachel Nichols racist.
Oh shit!
But right, because it's a situation where she may be capable of working with people of color, during the day.
Yeah.
But she has views that aren't completely contrary, but she has some moments when she goes home. And this is evident of that, right? Mm-hmm. Where, I'm cool with you at work, but I have these views. I still have these views. Mm-hmm. But oddly enough, the ones that she expressed are views that protect her. Where, once again, like I said before, I can see anybody doing that. And that's the thing that I find laughable is that the people who criticize Rachel for defending her own job are the same people who would do something similar. Sure. Because it's about self-preservation and making sure that, they're capable of being able to pay their bills and, doing whatever they want to do with the money that they earn, right? Because that's the thing, especially as it pertains to sports journalism, is that there are only a few number one spots and a whole lots of people is doing this. Many tiny people are doing it, us included, right? But I know for with us, we're doing it for the simple fact that we enjoy talking sports. But there are a lot of people like us who are looking at this as a ways to a mean where they're looking to end up getting employed from this and potentially moving up the ladder and doing whatever they can or going as high as they can potentially go by doing this. But once again, there are only so many networks that are doing it. There are only so many, especially now with the advent of not the advent, but the destruction of the print journalism and the way that that's going. So now everything's moving to digital, and that means even those numbers are being dwindled down. So there are not a lot of spots, and everybody's fighting for a spot, and everybody's looking to get in where they fit in and potentially get paid for this thing, man. But once again, they're not giving out a lot of spots, and a lot of those spots that they are giving out is going to white men or athletes,
right?
Or someone who is polished enough to be able to be fed to the masses.
I cussed earlier. I said,
I don't know.
I was going to say.
Well, we all know Shaq is not. Well, you know what? Shaq is as polished as Shaq is going to get, right?
Exactly.
Yo, guys, hold on for 1 second. I was going to say, this came across my phone when I said, "Oh shit!" earlier and looked down. Maria Taylor. This is on Yahoo Sports just now. Maria Taylor reportedly nearing deal with NBC Sports.
Wow.
Despite ESPN reportedly offering Taylor $3 million to stay. Mm-hmm. It's not told how much she would make as part of the deal. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she's leaning towards leaving ESPN to NBC Sports. I just want to share.
Wow.
You know what? She could be getting paid less as long as she's happy. How did Pam say it on Martin? Yeah. She knows she don't have to deal with that mess no more. And this was an easy out for her. I am happy that she is capable of moving on to another position that is on the level of an ESPN. I am ecstatic because I was concerned. God knows I didn't think that she would be a fit over at another network. I know, Scott, you like that network a lot, but I know that I didn't think she was going to be a fit over there, and I'm not going to say their name until they somehow cut me a check or get me on the show.
Right. But apparently she might be on Football Night in America on
Ooh,
NBC.
Yeah, there you go. So
yeah.
So, one question: what about if Rachel had said the same thing about a younger white woman?
No one would have cared.
No one would have cared.
No one would have cared.
No one would have given a damn.
Ageism exists.
It does.
Right.
A lot of times you see, folks are trying to come in, like, oh, now we're not seeing, we don't see Pam, on the sidelines. I call everybody by their first name like we're all friends. Y'all know I'm talking about Pam Oliver. We don't see.
We're family. There you go.
Yeah, maybe she's family because she's HBCU alum. Yeah.
There you go. FAMU. Yep.
And but if that was the case, it would have been like, this recording. But and again, it's not for me to downplay racism, but again, it honestly, it could have been the same situation where Rachel's like, oh, they trying to bring this young broad in, right. And she could have said that young lady's name, by name, but because it's the issue of, however you want to call it, diversity, inclusion, diversity, equity, and, mama say, mama saba, mama sa, that is what it's going to be. But ageism is real, sexism is real, and I know that's what, Rachel was leaning on in her, kind of the latter part of the convo, as far as, I had to get through all of these, white men, Trump supporters, but again, the race conversation is going to trump the
no pun intended. Yeah.
But you know what it is, Tracy? One word. Catchphrase. And that big catchphrase was what? Black Lives Matter. Yeah. When she said that and then attached the name of that thing, woo, boy, you might as well just go ahead and light that on fire because it was going, it was going to burn for a long time.
Mendelson said that. LeBron's advisor said that. So basically, and I guess apparently Rachel Nichols has kind of scoffed at it. So when they brought it, because I think the whole thing was, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but it's like paraphrase, he said that this whole thing about BLM and how he tired of that. He sounded like he was tired of that, and that the LGBTQ stuff, IA as well, which Rachel was like, yeah, I know. So that brought a whole nother layer to that, because it speaks to me, y'all, about how some white people who are supportive in front of you, but when they go home or go to wherever they go, they're like, man, what the, it's like, they just like lip service. It's like when, after George Floyd was murdered, and when they had that Blackout Tuesday, everybody and mom were putting black profile pictures, and those same people, not that far later, were pro-Trump, this and that. Now, I'm not saying that all Trump supporters are racist. All right, people on YouTube. I'm just saying the ones who are the most vocal may have act like they have those issues. That's all I'm saying. And so a lot of those same people you see with the blackout thing, revert back and do the other shit that make you scratch your head. It's like, yeah, it's so basically you see that a lot. You see a lot of things that's for show, but that's not how they really roll. So
that goes right back to what I said earlier.
Yeah.
That's what you do in front of the camera and the things that you do behind the camera. And it just happens to be that, unfortunately for her, she got caught behind the camera. Now, you talk about Donald Sterling, it just happened to be that he was doing hoe stuff in front of hoes. And that's what you get. But at the same, but let's also not forget the bad track record that Donald Sterling had before this thing came out. They were looking for an out. And surprise,
they got the out.
They got
out
right?
in spades, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess this is the same situation with Maria Taylor. She was looking to make sure she got her a spot that was befitting of her talent. Now she's getting one, so now she's getting her out. So amongst all of this concrete, a rose has risen, and it has moved its way over to NBC. So congratulations, Maria Taylor.
What was that? What was that Aretha song that Lauryn Hill wrote? A rose.
A rose is still a rose.
It's still a rose.
Yeah.
Baby girl, you are a flower. But anyway, I can't sing. So there you go. So basically, I mean, I just wish the optics were better with ESPN. Because they seem to be very reactionary. They don't have any set policies in place. It's like when, and Jamel mentioned this, whenever they had the Six, Sports Center, the Six with Michael Smith, and when after Jamel said what she said about Donald Trump on Twitter, and they instead of ESPN having a firm something in place and just totally backs that only a talent, instead of being reactionary, they allowed a few conservative talking heads to actually set the narrative. One of them being Clay Travis, to set the narrative. And that's how ESPN kind of like tried to appease them. Instead of just taking a stand and said, look, we're back on employees, blah, blah, blah. They scrambled, they neutered Michael Smith and Jamel Hill to the point where they're all Sports Center. And the whole thing was just handled so clumsily. And yeah. So it's crazy. I mean, it is what it is. So who knows? But all I got to say is this. I know one more thing, and I don't want to give this particular person a shout out, but a certain Black sports media personality who was formerly ESPN and more recently formerly on Fox Sports. Y'all know who he is.
We already
he already has something on about Maria Taylor. I'm not going to bring it to light. I'm not going to mention his name. He probably figured out who the hell it is by now. But it just goes to show you how crazy this whole thing is. I'm just glad Maria Taylor is coming out on top. And hey, more power to you. Traci, have anything else to add, or should we just move on?
It kind of just wears on you. It's just like, God, they are wearing me out.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just, what do they say? This is America.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing, Traci, that you say about it wearing us out, because I heard the exact same conversation being held on one of the news networks, right? And even amongst the whole conversation of them talking about how ESPN needs more diversity higher, it's like they skimmed over that to go right for the racial aspect of it, instead of talking about what I thought was the biggest issue, is that we need more diversity as it pertains to television and entertainment as a whole.
Well, we just need companies, including ESPN, right after George Floyd's murder, when all of them pledged. Remember all those companies, Walmart, Target, Disney, all them people. Netflix put on more Black Lives Matter collection of series. They all pledged to do better. It's a matter of putting their money where the big ass mouths are.
Yeah.
So not a lot of people have done that. Some have, which is great, but a lot of people, I'm looking at you, ESPN, you, NFL. We all know the usual suspects. And props to the NBA, big props to the WNBA, props to MLS, And believe it or not, props to NASCAR. Because they actually made some changes. So,
props to NASCAR. Who would have knew?
They did not mess around. So if this is how bad the NFL looks. If NASCAR of all entities took the stand that they took, they did not waffle on Black Lives Matter. They did not waffle on their support for Bubba Wallace when not Bubba himself, one of his crew members found the noose.
Right.
Want to make sure everybody knows that it's not like this is not a Justice Smollett thing. All right, Bubba Wallace did not see the news; he was told about it. All right, Clay Travis, let's get that straight.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, they like to see NASCAR do what they did, take away the rebel flag for good. They said, "No, we're not doing this right now. We ain't doing it." They tried a nice approach years ago. Right? When they had the incentive to bring your rebel flags, replace it with American flags. How fucked up is that? We in 2000, whenever it was, past 1865, that stupid ass people still want to fly around rebel flags. They lost the war. It's obsolete. That's the first act of treason in American history. But what do I know? I'm just an educated Black man who happens to read a book. But anyway, to have NASCAR come out and make that statement, back Bubba Wallace, the Black Lives Matter movement, get serious on diversity inclusion. They have a diversity program. They actually hired a brother, and I referenced one of the I Am Athlete podcast. They were at NASCAR's headquarters in Charlotte. They were talking to some personalities, and they brought in, I think, the vice president of diversity and inclusion. And they had some programs aimed to bring more people of color, talent in, as well as to add the pit crew, and then work their way up to crew chief and some drivers. Yeah. They have a drivers program they work with HBCUs with. I know that because they worked with A&T in the past. Yeah. I think they still do work with A&T in few.
They've been working with A&T for some time now. There used to be a guy, I can't remember Chris's name off the top of my head.
Yeah, I was going to say Chris too. I can't remember his last name right now.
Yeah, but I see his face. I just can't remember his name. He actually was a racer on the Gibbs racing team.
Yeah, Joe Gibbs. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, they've been doing. NASCAR has noticed that their fan base has been growing, and they noticed that in order for this thing to continue to do this and
it's
stop,
getting browner. Yeah,
and it's getting browner, right?
Yeah,
and not just African American brown, not just Black browner, but the Latinx browner as well. So they're like, this is more money for us. We can't keep focusing on the traditional or stereotypical fan base that we have, because what's more what's better than color, the skin color, money color. So green is the only color that they're concerned about. Right. If they can get more fans with that, why not? Right? Let's make everybody happy in that case. And I'm glad that they're one of the few that have actually made that growth in that.
And they put the money where the wells are. So if for NASCAR to do that, and the NFL to sit on their asses and not do anything and be reactionary when they had a chance to do it 5 years ago when Colin Kaepernick took a knee,
right,
and let some stupid ass orange tan toddler in the White House run the narrative, this should have been them. What NASCAR did should have been them. But anyway, that's not here on there. But the point is it's like these companies have a chance to make things right as far as minority hiring, even if it comes at the expense of established white employees. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's just think about decades and decades and decades of Black, brown, other talent being tossed by yellow talent, Asian people being tossed by the wayside. So, just chickens coming home to roost. But we'll see what happens at ESPN going forward. See if Fox Sports, NBC Sports is doing their thing, trying to make strides. But this, to your point, it speaks to a bigger issue. ESPN having to be on top of the issue of minority hire or lack thereof when it comes to everything, not just on the air.
Right.
Everything.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're already seeing what's going on with the network. They've been having turnover there for like the past 5-10 years.
Yes,
I mean, like massive turnover. It's not even funny. At first, they made it seem like it was just financial, and all these situations is not. And it's starting to look ugly for them right now.
Yeah. So last but not least, since we continue our theme on race and sports, again, we're cutting off season 2, doing it our way. And for those people out there who are upset about this, look, we don't like talking about this shit either.
I don't care. I talk
but we have to talk about it because it affects people who looks like us. Yeah. And it happens in sports. So guess what? We're gonna talk about it.
They've been watching for a season. They know we ain't scared.
Yeah, we ain't scared to talk about this shit. So
you know where to find me. You can find me on I don't Tiff and Emerson all day. I ain't scared. Come on.
Yeah, we don't give a damn. So basically, fair is where they judge pigs. So I don't care. So anyway, let's wrap this up with this. What happened with another thing? What happened when we were off? What happened during the Euro Championships? Right, England, Italy. England went up 1-0. Italy came back to tie. England hadn't won anything of consequence in over 60 years, whether it's like World Cups or European Championships through UEFA. So anyway, you all saw what happened. Yeah. With the penalty kicks, aside from missing a field goal, one of the messed up ways to lose a championship game. But anyway, they had the penalty kicks. England missed 3. Italy missed 2. Italy ended up winning the whole damn thing, right? Well, it just so happens, and I said this, my brother-in-law and I were watching, and we looked at each other, we're like, all 3 had to be brothers, and we all had an inkling what was going to happen. Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Bukayo Saka. All 3 brothers who are soccer stars in their own right, whether it's the European leagues, or the Premier League. I think all 3 were in the Premier League. So all 3 can play. They all can play. One, which Marcus Rashford is very famous in the league and in all of England for his work on and off the field.
Right.
But they were subjected to lots of racial abuse. It's funny, we call it here racist speak in America, and everywhere else around the world they call it racial abuse. But anyway, it got so bad to the point that Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who's their version of Trump, essentially, and Prince William have been denouncing the racial harassment of Black players of England's national soccer team.
Right. So
basically, Boris Johnson says that you're fucked up. You fucked up. Let's just be real about it. So, recently they had a rally. Apparently, Marcus Rashford has a mural in his hometown, and it was defaced. And so a lot of English, Black, white, whoever, rallied around it, and they had a impromptu Black Lives Matter rally with that. And this goes to show that we know this as Black Americans, but the rest of the world needs to realize that racism just doesn't exist in America. It exists in England, France, Spain. Even though France has a great history of accepting Black African Americans in the 30s, 40s, 50s during the Jim Crow years, like James Baldwin lived there for a while. Lady Sings the Blues, Billie Holiday, I think, was over there, and a few people before her. Langston Hughes spent some time over there, if I'm not mistaken. It just is what it is. It's a demographics thing. It's a numbers thing. It just happens. So basically, I will say this. I was happy that even if it was Boris Johnson, that he and Prince William said something about it and acknowledged it, which the certain former president here would have done the same, but that's neither here nor there. So, Traci, I'll start with you. I don't know if you pay attention to this, but I just kind of feel like I can't get riled up like my white counterparts get riled up with this, because this is all half for us. We're just tired. We're just tired.
Right.
You know?
And I think that's what I was gonna say. It's like unfortunately, but fortunately, that's our topic. But unfortunately, here we are with another example. So again, like you said, just tired of it. It's, I wonder if the players were actually, even surprised. I bet the fans, the real fans, the real fans, not the jackasses, were, probably like, oh, I can't believe this. These are our players, but no, and again, it's what we know goes on. It's just, again, the folks who actually are coming out without the hoods on, so.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I did see, oh, and you're right. I knew Italy won. Thank you, Facebook.
There you go. The internet, loves your cheek.
Any sort of, attention, prior to then, no, I don't really do football, but, again, it comes to the forefront when, you have these types of things that happen. And, it's interesting because it's like, oh, they have these rules in place since all the way back to 1989 that, they don't tolerate this offensive behavior, and, you're banned from attending the matches, but it didn't cover online.
No.
So now it's just like, oh my goodness, well, we need to get them out of here. And then, as you said, after facing the criticism, here comes Boris. I don't comb my hair in the morning. Johnson.
He sure knows.
To come out and, say, no, this rule has to be extended to online. And, here we are. But a lot of times that's how a lot of things happen. Unfortunately, it's more so reactive. But I don't want to say I'm glad that it happened, but in a way, again, it's just like, folks need to see that this is real. Mm-hmm. So, of course I don't want, any hurt, harm, or danger brought to them, their families, but it's just like, basically I'm looking at this and I'm like, Meghan and Harry are like, duh,
Yeah, right. That part.
Told you. So, it's just another way. I think it's interesting how they could tell their story. Mm-hmm. And people be like, what? No. I can't believe. Did you hear what they said that, his grandmother did? But then they like, oh, this is stuff that they was talking, this is what they told Oprah. So now all of a sudden, this is what you all needed to, sort of validate what they said and what, has known to be, be going on. So it's like, I hate that it happened, but it's just like, sometimes it's just that, well, welcome to our world. So.
Mm-hmm. Dwayne, you may have the last word on this.
Oh, man. Those that know completely understand that this type of action, not only in England, but in Europe, especially as it pertains to soccer, is not new, right? What I'm attempting to do, because what we do on Sleazy Sports is every week we name a Sleaze of the Week, right? Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you, if you go to our website right now, sleazysports.com, that's SLZE sports.com, and you look through our sleazes, I guarantee you just about at least once every year, soccer fans have been named a sleaze, at least once, right? Mm-hmm. And the show goes back to 2010. Okay, 2010, there wasn't one name, but I'm looking at 2004. I just know that I think we probably named a sleaze. FIFA. There you go. That's one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's no, man. Listen, the European soccer fans are notorious for doing things, having racial acts against their black athletes. They throw bananas on the field. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I know. That part.
Doing a Steelers-Ravens game, if say Lamar Jackson gets tackled at the 1 and the Ravens lose the game, and Ravens fans start throwing bananas on the field, could you imagine the response in 2021? My God! Well, oddly enough, it happens in England. Right. You know what I'm saying? Still to this day.
And here's the thing: are they selling bananas at the game? Like, is that what you all like? You got your fan finger, you know, you got your megaphone, and you got like
you got a foam figure and then bananas. You're right.
Yeah,
Yo,
exactly. And it was like this was no different from what happened with Ja Morant, what happened with Westbrook, what happened with you know Kyrie. It's the same. You see, it's the same, just across it, you know, across the sea, different sport. But what they see, you know, it's all good. You know, you playing, you winning, you repping. Oh, you know, whatever you chant when you at the game, you know, whatever. But the minute you mess up, you a monkey. You.
I'll say this though, at least in the NBA, they're doing it against their opposing team. In England and in Europe, they do it against their own players. They do it against their own, and I'm like, yo, I just your own player? Word? Okay, cool. But yeah, you're right, Traci. I completely zoned out about this playoffs, the NBA playoffs this year, and how everybody's been wilding out. I'll put that mostly on COVID because everybody's been away and everybody want to act a fool. But at the same time, yeah, it's still within the fan base, though. It is. It's something that's there. We see it a lot during hockey. Oh, God, do we remember what happened here in D.C. when the Caps beat Boston? What year was that? Was that 2011, 2010? When they beat them in Boston? I forget the black player's name that played with the Caps that scored the win. Was it Joe Ward that scored the winning goal against Boston? And all the racial epithets were tossed around on social media. But either way, it happens here, but not as much and not as crazy as it does in Europe. And okay, fine, they're finally coming out. But I'm just trying to figure out if there's any way to there's never going to be a way to stop this from happening. It's going to continue to happen.
Right.
But I just wish that fans would the only way we're going to actually start to police this really is when the fans start policing this themselves. But I don't think that's going to happen either.
Get the Sons and Four guy. To start policing this shit. And for those of you who don't know who the Sons and Four guy is, Google and YouTube. You'll thank us
Google
later.
that, Bama. Yeah, that was something that came out when we was on hiatus.
1v2? Yeah.
There you go. All right, y'all. Well, again, just want to kick off season 2 with this discussion. Too bad it was about race, but hey, we're going to talk about it anyway. But thank y'all for tuning into tonight's edition of the podcast. You can check us out on YouTube. We upload video shorts as well. Please hit the subscribe button. Check out Dwayne Nash on the Yard HCU Sports, rest of all things HCU Sports, where it's Sleazy Radio every Tuesday now on Facebook Live. And last but not least, herosports.com. That's great work with FCS Athletics, HBCUs. And Traci Hatch, can you tell us about our your podcast one more time?
It is on? Another Sports View. So you can follow us on Facebook at Another Sports View and follow us on Instagram, Another Sports View.
All right. So next time we're going to get this. We're going to get growing with this next week. Going to get more on the HBCU sports, more random shit segments, and other crazy shit that happens in the world of sports. Let's just hope that nothing racial happens again, because we're going to talk about it again.
Right.
We just will.
Hey, Scott.
Yes, sir.
Is this America?
It's America.
Well, chances are. I'm just saying.
No, there you go. On that note, take care, guys.
Sorry.
Peace out. Stay strong. All that good stuff.
Thanks.
Out.